But the peanut butter ones, I really like those. So I will. Good. You're pensive. Pensive today. Pardon? You're pensive today. What does pensive mean? Quiet when you're big thoughts are on your mind. I've been pensive. What? I have been pensive. There's a lot going on in my head right now. I picked the right word. Ed was supposed to phone me. Nope. I was supposed to phone him, and I thought, nope.
Oops, sorry. Good. I don't know. Haven't thought about it yet. I'll be happy to. Yeah, I'll be happy to. Yeah.
Sorry, kids
Yeah. No, someone brought it. Yeah. Or someone, yeah. Yeah, I told her to call Larry to get the information about how to send it. It's Nancy Abbott. She's here. Abby. I'm sorry.
Apparently Nancy Abby provided the PowerPoint.
Dennis.
Stephanie asked Larry
I
to
responded.
put it on the drive, so she'd like you to open it and guidance.
Nothing is. Nothing is.
That Michael's on main.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you switched that. So,
Everybody's on board.
thank you.
Everybody's on board. Stephanie was just saying.
Is that a regular agenda item? Okay. Ever since I've been a kid, it's just, buzzing with lights and activity. The whole thing was like nothing was there. Why don't you know her name? Why don't you bring her forward then? I'll turn it over to you and you just bring her forward.
And then you can ask him. Do you have any information on this?
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
That could be scary. Yeah. You got one.
A minute. Yes,
Well,
so people
Larry should
walk
have
in and
looked
see
at it
you.
before ahead of time. I believe your time. I told her to call Larry and coordinate that with him.
That's what you are. You're the vice mayor. Support the mayor. Got my back.
I definitely got you.
I'm trying not to stay too long tonight.
Oh, okay.
It's been like I think I'm an hour like 12.
What?
12-hour day.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, because a lot of people do. A lot of people do have stuff. Presentation.
On council meeting.
Yeah. And it's like meeting after meeting after meeting.
Yeah. More relaxing.
Jamie, are you going to introduce Mark Welch?
I'll be introducing. It is 7 o'clock.
Welcome to the May 14th meeting of Capitola City Council, the oldest seaside resort in the state of California. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Harlan.
Here.
Councilmember Bottor.
Here.
Councilmember Bertrand. Councilmember Termini.
Here.
Mayor Norton.
Here. Pledge of allegiance. Please stand. Led by Christine.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
Under God.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jamie. You have an introduction for us this evening?
So, could Mark Welch please come on up here? I want to introduce our new finance director.
Mark comes to the city from Santa Clara, where he was the principal financial analyst, and he oversaw the city of Santa Clara's annual budget preparation process, as well as overseeing their investment portfolio. Before he was in Santa Clara, Mark spent nearly 7 years with the city of Sierra Vista in Arizona, and he served in a whole bunch of different capacities for the city of Sierra Vista, from financial analyst all the way up to the assistant to the city manager. He also serves as the human resources manager and marketing and communications manager. Mark did his undergraduate work at UCSB and got a master's in public administration from the University of Oregon, and I'm really proud to welcome him to our team. I think he's a great addition, and really happy that we've been able to find such an accomplished replacement in finance after a relatively short recruitment process. So welcome, Mark, and thanks for coming on board.
Hey, thanks.
Welcome, Mark.
Mayor, members of council, Mr. City Manager, just want to say thanks for the opportunity to be your finance director. It's an honor to work for the city of Capitola, and I look forward to many years serving the city.
Thank you, Mark.
Us too.
Us too.
Thank you.
I heard you were going to wear a white shirt. I can't beat you on the tie.
Our building official, Brian Bonson, you have us a presentation, please.
Thank you, Mayor Norton, council members. As you know, we have been looking to fill the position vacated by my promotion for the building inspector 1 position. And after a fairly quick recruitment and interview process, we interviewed many highly qualified candidates, but we felt the best fit for the city of Capitola would be our new building inspector, Nelson Membrano.
I honored to be working with the city of Capitola. I'm looking forward to work with you guys for many, many years.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. A very important position in the city of Capitola. T.J. Welch and Chief Escalante, you have a presentation this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I want to thank you for the opportunity to recognize somebody within the city staff here tonight. On behalf of the Capitola Foundation, I'm not sure which way I should look because I feel like I should be looking out there, but and look towards you. Okay, I'll start off with you guys. On behalf of the Capitola Foundation, we want to recognize Officer Leo Moreno, and is the first annual from the Capitola Foundation Herb Ross Community Achievement Award. As you know, Mayor Norton, you proclaimed this Police Officer Week, Capitola Police Officer Week. We call it Capitola Police Officer Appreciation Week, and we had a good week. We had a little fundraiser with our friends at Paradise and raised a little bit of money to get a nice little award to recognize Officer Moreno. So if we could get Officer Moreno to come up. There he is. He's hiding back there. I'll read this to you. It says, the Herb Ross Community Achievement Award presented to Officer Leo Moreno in recognition of your dedication to protect the residents of Capitola. Thank you for your commitment to go beyond the call of duty and to serve and support our community. 2015.
Thank you.
I'm not done yet. You can't get rid of me that quick. We need to explain a couple things. First of all, our police officers, and many of you know who Officer Herb Ross was, but there may be some that don't. And Herb actually set quite a standard in the police department. Besides being the Citizen of the Year in 1997, Herb started the first DARE program for Capitola. He was involved with the Juvenile Diversion Program. He started the Cops Reading to Kids program, which we continue today. He started the Safe Ride Home. So there was a number of those things, and I also kind of throw in a note, he was a firefighter at one time, so there's another plus for him. The chief pointed out he got his head together and got his act together and became an police officer. So he was an officer here for 28 years, from 1973 to 2001. He set quite the standard, and Leo himself is right in his footsteps, and hence the reason we chose to give the award to Officer Moreno tonight. He supervises the investigation unit currently. He works with the Tipicop program. He works very active with the Special Olympics. He's on the board of directors for the Community Action Board. He works with the Women's Crisis. He works with our Elder Abuse program. He's on a financial task force, and he's a representative to the Ombudsman program, which I'm not sure how that works out with the police officers, but it's great to have one of our officers involved with that. And okay, I'm going to move real slow. Don't get too excited here. You don't want to reach in your pockets around some of these officers. Here it is. We also had Matt at Coastal Uniforms helped us out to present you with a knife that you can use on your day-to-day duties.
Thank you.
I'll give you this also. And it will be engraved with your name on it. So we want to thank Matt, and also I hope that's something you can use on a day-to-day basis. And I need to mention one more thing. This was made possible, I mentioned, through, we had a little fundraiser, but much of our community got involved and bought tickets to support us by going to Paradise as a fundraiser along with our folks at Paradise to raise the money to do this. And so we had a lot of support from the community. You have complete support from the Capitola Foundation Board. And I was going to read a little bit how the chief first chose us. Maybe I should go back and tell you how we did this. The chief recommended a number of people. We have quite a few people in our police department actually are worthy of this award. So what the police officers, Rudy and his group looked at was the ability to communicate, working with others, working as a team, ancillary duties as assigned by others, I remember that one, professional service delivery, performance-initiated activity, work habits, willingness to take on new responsibility, and externally looked at how the candidate represents the department, the profession, how they're involved with activities within Capitola, what is their involvement in the community groups, engagement in nonprofit activities, relationships with external law enforcement organizations. So we took a group of names that the chief forwarded after he met with his staff and had a vote by the board, and Officer Moreno was selected as this year's recipient, and we hope we have many more years to come. So, Rudy, Chief, you got anything you want to say?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rudy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
Tony, can we have a report on closed session, please?
Yes, the council met briefly in closed session this evening to consider a labor negotiations matter involving all bargaining groups. There's also an item on your open session agenda that pertains to that. And otherwise, there's no action to report.
Thank you, Tony. We received no additional materials to the council. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Jimmy?
I will note that on your agenda this evening, we noticed that the appeal for 502 Pine Street, we did receive an appeal on that project, and that appeal was subsequently withdrawn after we had noticed the appeal hearing. So I wanted to let anyone know that we will be recommending removing that from the agenda in case anybody is here to talk on that.
What's the number on that item?
It's item 10A.
10A. So the public is notified that item 10A has been pulled from the agenda, has been settled. This is time for public comment. Oral communication allows time for members of the public to address the City Council on any item not on the agenda. Presentations will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Individuals may not speak more than once during oral communications. All speakers must address the entire council and not be permitted to engage in dialogue. Can I see a show of hands of how many people would like to address the council, please? Okay. We will allow 3 minutes then. Okay. Please step forward and sign in to our sheet in the front, please.
Hello, I'm Helen Bryce. A former member of the City Commission on the Environment, Elizabeth Russell, said something very important a little while ago. She essentially pointed out currently, the City of Capitola does not have a cohesive plan for the management and growth of our city's green spaces and parks. I wish to add my voice to hers in asking you, the City Council of Capitola, to create a Parks and Recreation strategic plan process that would create sustainable parks, recreation facilities, and services. I very strongly believe that our green spaces and parks are essential to the quality of life, the preservation of the environment, and the economic viability of our city. And I believe that the proposed skateboard park in Monterey Park is not an appropriate use for Monterey Park. A skate park is an extremely poor fit for the neighborhood. It will worsen traffic and parking problems in the area of New Brighton School. It will create unnecessary noise. But even if it did not do those things, it would clearly remove green space that Capitola cannot afford to lose. And of course, there is a skate park near completion at McGregor. A recent issue of the Capitola Soquel Times, in a recent issue, Mayor Norton said he'd like a skate park in the Pacific Cove area. I find this possible proliferation of skate parks baffling. The city's current approach to our green spaces and parks is a hodgepodge. Before the city actually goes through with building a skate park in Monterey Park, a proposal that is clearly opposed by the people living adjacent to Monterey Park, I feel it is essential that the city create a Parks and Recreation strategic plan process, as Ms. Russell suggested. A skate park is a great idea, and I support the skate park at McGregor. In considering the future of Capitola and the future of our children, we need to be thinking of the bigger picture, the best use of the green space we have. We need to be thinking about soccer fields and urban forest, about community gardens and nature play, about picnic tables and climbable art, and about the grassy green knoll where children can fly kites, where family can spread a blanket on the ground to watch their kids play ball or frisbee, where seniors can walk or just enjoy the sunshine. We need to maintain our precious neighborhood parks and our green spaces for the physical and mental health of our community. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Helen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Bowman. I live on 714 Orchid. I'm voicing my opposition to the skate park proposal on Monterey. I was excited when the McGregor Park went through. I came to listen to the moms, and what I saw was a disingenuous presentation. Skate parks don't make much noise. When I worked at Derby Park, when I worked at the school by Derby Park, I didn't have to deal with girls or families, young kids. I had to deal with a constant stream of young men who I love. I've got one myself, a 23-year-old now. But those are the folks, if we build a skate park at Monterey and another one 1,000 yards away, it becomes a mega skate park with a sweet street course in between. Get the bus on Park Avenue, skate down Wesley, hop the gate into Monterey Park, go down Kennedy, go to the McGregor Park. My husband gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We've lived there for 23 years. He's done it for 30 years. Our bedroom is on the street. Every time a skateboard goes by, we wake up because we go to bed early. Because I guess we're old, right? Because we're against the skate park. I love kids, and I love living at the park, and I love the liveliness of the park. I don't want to live at the skate park. I love the idea of the McGregor skate park. It's brilliant. It doesn't hurt anybody. I don't want to live at the skate park. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Warder. I live at 218 Unipro Court, and I want to thank you for going ahead and not stopping work on McGregor. I think that was a bad idea and it didn't go forward, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'd just like to see everyone wait and see how that goes. How does the community receive that park? How does it fit into the community? How do people use it before we do another one? It's a competing project that's happening at the same time. And I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad location. And I think it's going to be disruptive to the people that live right next to it. Obviously, the people who don't live right next to it, it's like, well, you know, what the heck, it'll be great. But for the people who have to live there, like live at the park, it's really not going to be great. So please, let's just see how McGregor goes before we move forward on this competing project. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff. My name is Richard Lippy. I live on Monterey Avenue. And I also would like to thank you for your efforts and continued construction of McGregor Park. It was not until January of this year that I became less than just a casual observer of skateboarding. Since January of this year, I've had to delve into the subject because I'm the nearest neighbor to the proposed skate park at Monterey Park, which I oppose. And I'd like to say that the more research I do on skate parks, the more apprehensive I become about the prospect of the proposed multi-featured, all-age skate park that could be operating from sunrise to sunset and is less than 50 feet from my sleeping quarters. I'm a resident, taxpayer, registered voter, local business owner, and volunteer in the city of Capitola. I'd like to say that with respect to the proposed 6,000 square foot skate park at Monterey Park, the following observations are my own and listed in no particular order of importance. And I submitted a letter dated May 11th, 15 for council members to review, and I'm just going to read from I have 14 items that I've pointed out here and that represent my feelings of opposition. I'm going to start with item 11. Currently, there are no permanent structures at Monterey Park except for the drinking fountain. The proposed skate park would be a massive, permanent structure that would preclude any other activities in that area. Removal would be very costly. Currently, there are no noisy activities at Monterey Park that are continuous, year-round, from sunrise to sunset, but skateboarding activities, the coming, the going, and skating at the park could change all of that to the detriment of this residential neighborhood park. The initial construction expense of a skate park is the smallest part of the skate park, smallest cost of the skate park in my opinion. Maintenance, repairs, modifications, and police interaction, to name a few, go on in perpetuity. The taxpayers have to pay for this. The nearest residents to the skate park pay a price too, in loss of peace, sleep, or productivity, which can negatively affect them. And lastly, at the approximate time mark of 3 hours 11 minutes of the video from the February 11th, 2015 City Council meeting, Council Member Michael Termini summarized the neighborhood sentiment as almost 95% of neighbors right against the park opposed, roughly drops down to 80% opposed as we move out one block. And I say, with this strong of an opposition to the proposed skate park, is it really feasible to try to force this project on the neighbors? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Hello, I'm Lisa Steingrove, and as you know, I've been up here before, so I'm against the 6,000 square foot skate park at Monterey Park. And before I get into some of my reasons, I'd like to read you an email I received from a teacher that I don't really know very well, but she saw the article in the newspaper the other day that John D. Gums wrote, and it's not a very long one, and I'll read you that. I think I have enough time. It says, Lisa, just a quick comment about the predicament that you are in terms of having a skate park in your neighborhood. I used to, yes, past tense, live at Harbor Oaks, a condo development on 7th Avenue in Live Oak area of Santa Cruz. When I bought my condo in 1997, there was an open field out from my living room, and upstairs bedroom window. All was quiet and peaceful until the county started building a skate park called Jose Park about 100 feet out my window. Even with many of us, homeowners and condo owners protesting, the state still got built. You can't imagine how many times my neighbors and I had to call the police regarding the excessive noise, including after sunset skaters. The congestion, the noise, the clickety-clank skateboard noises all day and into the evening, the graffiti, the boom boxes also being played loudly, the car noises coming and going, etc. It changed my living circumstances so dramatically that I felt forced to move. I was so worried that I wouldn't be able to sell my place due to the constant noise. I finally did, but at a much lower price than when it was appraised at. Anyway, I just wanted you to know what I went through given your similar circumstances. Wishing you all the luck, all the kinds of luck in your endeavors in this matter. And I won't say your name because I just, think it's just the content what's important. And also, I know city council members, my son always tells me, Mom, speak from your heart instead of reading. But even though I'm a teacher, I'm nervous in front of my own peer group, so I write it. But I know your city council are sensible members. And what doesn't make sense to me about this park is why a city of 1.67 miles needs 2 skate parks 3.5 blocks from each other. Why a skate park is being built in a neighborhood where 95% of the neighbors adjacent to it oppose it. Why a skate park would be built adjacent to a middle school where it will be an attractive nuisance. Why a city council would approve such a contentious and negative project. Why a city would vote for a skate park when money for its maintenance and policing could be better spent. And lastly, why a city would use its last owned green space for a cement structure with metal facing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else like to address the council? Please step forward. Rich, could you come up and give us present status on the application for a skateboard park? Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. We did deem the application complete, I believe, it was late last week. So we have a complete application. We've initiated the process to hire consultants for preparation of the environmental impact report, traffic, parking, and noise. I hope to have contracts finalized within the next week or two. At that point, we'll kick off the environmental review process and schedule a public scoping meeting that should take place sometime in June or July. And just as a reminder to the public, we have published some information about the skate park proposal on the city website, including some tentative timelines for when various stages of the process are expected to occur. So we'll keep that updated and provide information via the website.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it.
Rich? Would you describe what the public scoping process is and what would be the expected outcome and purpose of it?
California Environmental Quality Act requires that a public scoping meeting be held when there's an environmental impact report prepared for a project. The intent of the meeting is to solicit comments and feedback from the public to determine the scope of the analysis in the environmental impact report. So we'll invite members of the public, they can attend, and we'll simply describe the project and ask for feedback. What are the environmental concerns that they expect from the project, and they'll help guide the analysis that we do for the environmental impact report.
So the scope of analysis would noise, traffic, impact?
Noise, traffic, parking are the obvious issues. The idea is that residents that live near a project or within a community oftentimes know much better what the issues are, and so it's kind of an information gathering process to identify those issues early on.
Thank you, Rich.
My pleasure.
Do we have any oral communication from staff? City Treasurer?
So we're going to be discussing the preliminary budget at the Finance Advisory Committee meeting on Tuesday. All are welcome to attend. It's going to be an exciting meeting. and we'd love to have as many guests as possible.
What time is that going to be?
That is 6 p.m. on Tuesday. Is that correct? Yeah.
Thank you, Christine.
Sure.
Communication from council. Stephanie, please.
Art and Wine Kickoff. Art and Wine Kickoff, Thursday the 21st at Bargetto's in SoCal from 6 to 9. It's always a great party, great fundraiser to allow the Begonia Festival to, the Art and Wine Festival, to have a great kickoff and brings everybody together. And if you'd like to volunteer or like to help out for that, call the chamber.
Thank you, Stephanie. Ed? Okay. I do. Josh?
I'm sorry. Okay. I sent a communication to everyone on the board here about 2 assembly bills, and I'd like to get those scheduled for consideration at a future board meeting. One is Assembly Bill 43, which will address poverty amongst working families and boost California's recovering economy. And the other is Assembly Bill 403, which is, the intent is the legislature to comprehensively reform placement and treatment options for youth in foster care. A little aside, I went to a workshop on homelessness sponsored by United Way, and one of the problems there were kids that are basically aged out from foster care. The program only supports them to a certain time in life, and then after that they're on the street. And a lot of our homelessness are actually from that situation. So I'd like the support of the board to put these on our agenda for consideration. I could obviously, it's sponsored by Mark Stone, we could obviously approach him and see if there's any intent to do a presentation, or this is out of the Children's Network, so I could approach the staff person from Children's Network to do a presentation if the board agrees.
Comment on this? Carry it through then, Josh.
Okay. And one other thing.
What were the bill numbers on that?
Okay, the bill numbers are, I checked them, they're still active. Assembly Bill AB 43.
Okay.
And AB 403.
Thank you.
Also, I went to something interesting that a lot of people might like to follow up on. There was a recent presentation at the Santa Cruz Art Museum. Basically, it was titled Working for Dignity, and it was a year-long study originated from the California Legal
Assistance.
Yeah, okay. But then it got carried over to UCSC because they needed a lot of students to participate. So there's a student survey of about 1,300 workers in service farming and construction and other low-wage industries around this county. Very interesting presentation. And if you'd like to see some of the stories, it's on Working for Dignity, the website, Working for Dignity, one word, .ucsc.edu. And it documents quite a few things, some rather harrowing stories, people being cheated out of their wages even though they're getting less than $10 an hour. So it's quite amazing some of the things that exist in this community. Recently I was talking to Jamie. When I ran for city council, there was a couple of things that were important to me. One obviously was residents' participation in large decisions in this community that affect us, such as the process that's coming on right now, which is very happy for me to see that. But the other was economic development. We call for an economic development committee as part of the general plan, and I kind of like this group, our city council, to start moving ahead on that. Talking to Jamie, I was reminded of a group that I recently attended. It's the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. I went to their initial meeting sometime in January, and they've gotten better organized. And they've made an effort to reach out to Capitola for us to become a member of that group. The whole thing of that group is to
augment and expand the economic activities in this area from a business standpoint. Such activities would be good for this community on many levels. Sales tax increase, new opportunities for businesses to move in and enjoy this city and make this area a better place for the residents because of those opportunities. So again, I'd like this council to consider looking at the idea of reinstituting, which we did have, an economic development committee, and looking forward to perhaps joining the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. I would propose that I don't know about how they reached out to us, but I would propose that a staff report would be presented on what that would mean to us, what kind of opportunities it would mean to us, what would be our responsibilities. This is a larger group. Over the years, I've been involved in many groups that look at this whole area as an economic engine. This is an economic engine that needs to be better formed, better realized, better presented to the public around us. This is the Monterey Bay. And we're just a small part of the Monterey Bay. And we have things that make us a very desirable place. And as a unit, I think we could do better. I think we could do better in terms of providing economic opportunity for our businesses, for our residents that live here, for people that come here to play, for people that come here to raise their family like my wife and I did. But this is something that needs to be planned. You don't just all of a sudden say that we need to have great businesses come here that are going to provide jobs. That's not the way it works. It's a long process to plan in a cohesive manner to provide these things for this community. And the other thing is, we've often been the tail that was wagged by the dog in Silicon Valley. You know, there's a lot of things that are starting to happen here now, and some of these things can be encouraged, and some of these things could be worked at as part of a uniform process if all the communities get together. So in this Monterey Bay. So I like this idea of working with this organization, Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. The County of Santa Cruz is starting, or has been working on economic vitality, and they issued a report earlier this year and identified a lot of different things that are opportunities for this community, Santa Cruz County, and we're a part of that. So things are happening, and I think it behooves us to also work in a unified way with the rest of Monterey Bay. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I think that if you want to move this forward, Josh, I think you need to clarify what direction you're looking for us to go, or who you want us to tie in with, and come back with what your proposal is, and we'll look at it at that time.
Okay. Does the council sort of feel that this is something to work on?
I don't think it's time to agendize it or for send staff after it.
But I want to know if, in general, should I put my effort in that direction?
Are you talking about reviving the Chamber of Commerce and the City Economic Development Committee?
Well,
is that the committee you're talking about? Resurrecting?
I would like that well, we called for it in the general plan, so I would like that to happen for sure. I don't know if we want to do it with the chamber. We'd have to reach out to Tony to ask her if that would be something she'd like, but...
That group's not meeting anymore? Okay.
No, she's not. Okay. But this other organization might be something...
How much does it cost to join?
I'd like a report on that. That's how I'd like to move forward on this.
You don't know how much it costs?
No, I don't know at this time.
Bring us back the information.
Okay. So I'll work with you, Jamie, to develop an item. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Josh. We move to item 8. I'm going to give you the floor, Stephanie. I think this is your item.
Oh, I would like to appoint Kailash Mozumdar to the Commission on the Environment, and I know he attended the last meeting.
Yep.
And very well qualified, very interested, a relatively new member of Capitola, has lived here for a couple of years and has a great deal of experience and expertise, and I think it'll be a great fit for us. And then I'd like to appoint Ron Graves to the Parking and Traffic Committee, and look forward to working with that committee also to come up with the future ideas for improvements in parking and traffic.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, we move to the consent agenda, and all items listed in the consent agenda will be enacted in one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time the council votes on the action unless some member of the public or the city council request special items be discussed for separate review. Is there any member of the public that would like to pull any of the items that are on our consent agenda? If you would, please step forward.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
A motion and a second, consent calendar. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who made the second?
And I just wanted to say good work to the finance department on preparing the information for the third quarter budget report and the second quarter sales tax report. Good work to the everybody in the finance department. It's not only a great report as always, very user friendly. I really appreciate that format has changed, but it's also really good news. And if anyone's interested in the financial health of Capitola, go to that item and take a look at the report. And we have things are going in the right direction. We have a little extra money this year.
Okay, we move to general government, item 10A, and that's 502 Pine Street, which has been resolved and that has been pulled from the agenda for the public's knowledge. We move to item B, consider sending a letter in support for Assembly Bill 700, amending the Political Reforms Act. Is there someone in the public to address this, please? Thank you.
Do you want me to give you a little introduction on it first, Dennis? Dennis, you want me to give a little introduction?
Well, I was hoping that she would, but you go ahead, Stephanie. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. You do it.
I'm very happy to bring this item to the council. It's extremely important item that affects all of us, not only in Capitola, but the county and statewide and nationally. As you all know, money plays far too much of an influence in our political system, even locally. We have campaign finance limits here in Capitola, so you can only contribute $200 per individual to a council member when they run for office. Other jurisdictions don't have those kind of limits. There was a time in Watsonville not too long ago when they did not have a limit and a candidate was given $5,000 to run. Now you can imagine how you'd feel about that if that happened here. I hope you would be outraged. Anyway, they had a discussion about establishing a campaign donation limit. And I was shocked that they didn't have one like everybody else has one. So we all know the influence that money can have in politics locally. We've seen it in certain elections. Happy about some of it, not happy about some of it. But statewide and nationally, it's a different ballgame. And Nancy Abbey's here to present some very interesting information about that.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I understand I have
So you need to speak into the microphone.
Are you going to help me with this? Good evening. My name is Nancy Abbey, and I'm here representing the California Clean Money Campaign, which is a nonprofit organization of about 70,000 people now across California who are trying to make some changes in the way political advertising is done, campaign ads are done. We would like to shed more light on them. We would like to make them more transparent so that voters know what they're voting for, who is supporting the ads that they see on television. So the bill that we have now is AB 700. This is, I think, the fourth year we've tried to get a bill similar to this through the legislature. This year it is boiled down to legislation that would impact only initiative campaigns. It's the California Disclose Act, AB 700. And it would try to show people who is actually paying for the political ads. And we'll talk later about why that's important. I have examples of ads that I think can explain this better than I can. This is an actual ad from a 2010 campaign. I won't even try to explain the purpose of the initiatives, but if you can read that, I always have trouble reading it. It's paid for by Stop Hidden Taxes, no on yes and yes on no, something like that. Even when you can read the committee names, which is rather difficult, you don't know who has paid for that ad, who that committee is. If AB 700 was passed, this is what that ad would have looked like. The top funders of that ad actually were Chevron, Philip Morris USA, and Anheuser-Busch Company. That's a far cry from the Committee for Hidden Taxes. Another example, don't I have another example here? Well, anyway, that shows you what it is. What we're hoping to do is to get this passed this year through the legislature. We need a 2/3 vote because the bill will overturn some of the 1974, what is it called, the Political Reform Act. And so it has to have a 2/3 vote, which makes it very difficult to get passed through the legislature. So we're hoping that we can get the support of city councils, of individuals, of business owners, of people in the public eye, so that the legislature will see that this is actually something that the people of California want. So we have a couple other people who are going to speak to this, but do you have some questions you'd like to ask me before we go on, or should I have the others?
Questions for Nancy? Okay. Thank you, Nancy.
Greetings, everybody. I'm Barry Boone from Capitola here. And I just wanted to say I think it's very important to support this bill because, as you know, reading all of the things before you try to vote on elections, many of these ads are becoming so complicated to decipher. For example, groups make up their names to be for or against an initiative. For example, there was a group called the Small Business Action Committee. They poured money into Proposition 32, and it turned out that they were all billionaires, which is not exactly a small business. Also, it was found out that the group Californians Against Higher Health Care Costs were funded by Kaiser and Blue Shield, but of course before the elections they didn't have to acknowledge that, the insurance companies that are making all the profits. So if they're required to state in all ads who the 3 largest funders are, then it would make it a lot easier when we're trying to vote for things that we believe in. So supposedly, if the most you can support this being passed is a real step toward even better democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the council? Now's your chance. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Finley, and I used to be the public representative for the Community Action Board for the City of Capitola. Good to see you again. I'm here tonight to ask that you consider Mayor and City Council sending a letter on behalf of the city in support of this bill. I agree with everything that's been said by Nancy, and I definitely feel that in this particular case, this flood of what they're referring to as dark money is driving the integrity to pretty much disappear. And I think that Stephanie speaks to the integrity of the city of Capitola, and as a Capitola resident, I feel that's one of the things I cherish about Capitola, and that it's able to stand up and be transparent and fight the good fight in a clean way. And so I feel that as a city, it's really perfect to ask Capitola to do this. Thank you.
I have a question for you. How do we spread this to the federal level?
I can help you with that. I'm a social media expert.
New project. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address this? Okay, I return it to council. Comment? Michael?
Well, I'm wholeheartedly in favor of this, and yet the language of the letter should be reconsidered, and that is when we write something that says that the city of Capitola unanimously supports this, that speaks to every individual in this city supporting this, over the top. If we all vote for it, city council, city representatives, what have you. We just always need to be mindful and careful not to overreach our little boundaries here, and this is one of those places where it's appropriate. We have to be careful of becoming a nuclear-free zone and a, penguin-friendly zone. You get my drift. But yes, I'm in favor of this.
Okay. Stephanie?
Also, we could put language in there that we're in favor of in its current form, because that's what we've done in the past. Because when we've supported things, sometimes they change drastically to the point where we're not for them anymore. That's happened a couple of times. So that's why in our previous letters we used to say that we're in favor of this bill as it's currently written, because may change to something that we're not comfortable with. So that's the language we used to put in it, and it's
So
something about in its current form or as currently written, or something like that, just in case it's changed drastically and they put stuff in there to try to.
Since the letter's actually coming from me, I will make sure that we take into consideration both comments.
Great. Thank you.
Is there a motion to move this thing?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So be it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move to item 10C, consider approval of side letters of existing memoranda of understanding MOUs and compensation plans with the following bargaining groups: Association of Capitola Employees, Capitola Police Captains, Capitola Police Officers Association, Confidential Employees, Mid-Management Group, Department Heads, and City Manager for terms of 3 years expiring on June 30th, 2018.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Thank you for hearing this. We are here today to talk about some of the changes to the employer agreements. My name is Allison Hauk. I'm with the Public Law Group, and I worked with the city and your employee organizations to develop some changes to your current memorandums of understanding for your employee units regarding PERS. So let me tell you the impetus for this. There were some changes to the CalPERS formulas. Last year, CalPERS changed their pooling formula for member agencies. This was a response to the pension reform, PEPRA, and also some of the GASB accounting changes. We won't get into too much detail, but it was intended to ensure the long-term fiscal viability without impacting members. The communities that were in the pooled the risk pools were actually it wasn't providing enough funding to pay for the unfunded liability, so they changed the formulas. This was actually provided to us by PERS, and it shows the red was an alternative that they didn't choose. The blue is an alternative that they did choose for how they were going to change the funding. What we just wanted to highlight was that the city of Capitola is that circle there to the right side of the curve. So that shows you at the very bottom in the very small numbers is the actual increases in your PERS rates. And you'll see that Capitola is one of the very few employers that was impacted in a fairly negative way with the changes to the formula. Most of the employers were either not impacted or had minimal impacts. So the city of Capitola actually was fairly unique when they did this and was one of the few agencies that had some really large changes to their PERS cost share. So that is why we're here today, to talk to you about this. Please stop me if you have any questions.
Any questions of Allison, please?
So in the current memorandums of understanding for your employees, the employees are now paying all of the increases in the PERS rates. And so over the past 5 years, that has amounted to an increase of over 6% of their salary going in to pay for their retirement benefit. For safety members, it's increased by 9%. Right now, you have safety paying over 11% of their salary into PERS, and miscellaneous employees are paying just over 10%. The standard PERS employee contribution, the one that is the statutory requirement, is 8% for miscellaneous and 9% for safety. And I just wanted to let you know that out of all of the cities in California, very few have their employees paying more than 10% at this time. Some cities are looking for a greater cost share, but this was just to show that, you know, this was a time for the city to step in and help with the PERS increases because they were going to be so large. As you'll see, the projected rates of the safety rates in the current MOU, so if the city did not step in to help the employees with the increases in the PERS cost share, right now you have your safety classic employees, so these aren't the new PEPRA employees, but your classic employees are paying over 11%. It would jump to 15% next year, and you'll see by the end of the contract's end of 2018, they'd be paying over 21%, so they'd have an additional 10% increase in their PERS rates, and the employees would take on that entire increase. For the current MOUs for your miscellaneous employees, they are currently paying around 10%, so you'll see they've jumped from 4% to 10% in the past 5 years. And by the term of the MOU, they would be paying 20% of their salary into their pension, so that would double the rate that they would be paying. So the employees, so the result of the pooling changes was that the unfunded liability is now a fixed dollar. It used to be tied to city payroll. Now the unfunded liability is going to remain regardless of the number of employees. So even worst case alternative, let's say you stop being a competitive employer for lateral employees and you had all new employees that had no experience in a city government, you would still have your unfunded liability because you've already acquired the majority of it. For your current retirees and those about to retire, the reason that Capitola was hit with these higher increases was because your ratio of retirees to active employees is quite high. So the current increase of your unfunded liability payment from last year to this year is over $200,000, and this is a result of CalPERS unpooling you, or changing actually the way that they formulate the pool. So after meeting with all of the employee organizations, we mutually came up with an agreement on how to change this for the future. So this is to modify the current MOUs. They would still have a term till 2018, but this would modify their PERS cost share. So employee contributions to CalPERS will now increase between 1% and 1.5% through 2018, the fiscal year ending 17-18. And this is going to be tied directly to the consumer price index, so your wage increases are also tied to that, and so depending on how high that gets, they'll either pay 1% or up to 1.5%. Also a phase out of your Classic 2 designation. That's the designation that you had done before the state reformed PERS. And right now what you have is you had new employees before PEPRA coming in and paying 5% more of their salary into their retiree benefit. And this is going to be a phase. We're going to phase that out because now that PEPRA is in place, and there's only a handful of employees that are paying that Classic 2 designation. With the increases in the CalPERS, their rates were going to go up very considerably. So in order to alleviate that, we would phase out that additional 5% increase that they pay. There's also, before you change to the police chief compensation plan based on performance review, and that is based on a review of a market comparison for what other police chiefs are making in the area, and found that Capitola, I believe, is the second lowest in the area as far as the police chief compensation goes, and also the current compensation is, I believe, lower than was paid in 2007. So it seemed, for competitive reasons and looking at the market, you were out of market in that position quite significantly. So those are before you today. The annual cost increase of all of the changes that we have before you for the employee, the MOUs, and also the individual compensation contracts would be $230,000. You'll see that that is actually what your increase in unfunded liability is, and that's what the big part of this is. So that would be for 15-16, so this coming fiscal year. The next year it would be an increase of $150,000. These are ongoing costs. And the following year it would be $125,000. During that time you'll also be out of contract with your employees after 3 years, and you'll be renegotiating with them. So the recommended action tonight is to approve the side letters of the existing memorandums of understanding and also the existing employee agreements that you have in front of you. Are there any questions? Any other?
Thank you, Ellison, and thank you for guiding us through this, this process. Is there any members of the public who would like to address this issue? Please step forward. Being none, we return to council.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, we are good. Okay, let's do roll call on this, please.
Councilmember Harlan.
Aye.
Councilmember Bottorff.
Aye.
Councilmember Bertrand.
Aye.
Councilmember Termini.
Aye.
Mayor Norton.
Aye, so move it. Thank you. We move to item 10D as consideration of sending a letter of support for the Redwood Coast Dairies National Monument, if that is the name it's going to be. Laura Casa?
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Laura Casa, and I am the Community Engagement Director for the National Monument at Coast Dairies. I want to take a quick moment, though, to say thank you, because I've stood up here for 9 years, not continuously, but over the last 9 years, as the Executive Director of Save Our Shores, and I want to thank you for what we've done together to help protect our oceans. You know, it started here when I first landed here. It was the City of Capitola that started with the advocacy against plastic pollution, so thank you so much. And now we're on to land conservation. So I just want to take a few minutes and talk to you about this proposal for a national monument right here in our county. And I just have a few slides I'd like to go through with you, and then plenty of time to take your questions. So first of all, if you'll look over here at the screen, there's a map of this property. This is the Coast Dairies property. Maybe you are familiar with it. It was a property that originally the Native Americans inhabited, but then more recently it was a dairy farm for about 150 years. This area is just north of Wilder Ranch up along the coast. It's a beautiful, large piece of property. It's almost 6,000 acres. It has 6 watersheds. Rare plants and animals, endangered animals are on the land, and there are 500 acres of redwoods, even though some people think it shouldn't be called that. We're open to input on the name, but there are redwoods and other trees on the property. Oh, I guessed right. So the property is beautiful. It's something we want to have preserved forever, but right now it's closed to the public, and that's because the Bureau of Land Management does own this property, but they don't have any money to open it to the public. So there's no money to make trails or provide the projects that need to happen on that property. What we're hoping in making it a monument is that there will be access to the public. There'll be hiking trails, potentially biking trails, trails for horseback riding. Schools will be able to take field trips up to that area. So it'd be an area for day use. It wouldn't be overnight camping, but it would be day use and recreation. So why a national monument? People say, why don't you just leave the land up there as it is? Isn't it protected enough? Well, there are 3 reasons why we feel strongly it should be a monument. Number 1, it will permanently be protected. We know that it won't be able to be sold. Right now in Congress, there's a bill that's trying to go through that would say all federal land is available to be sold unless it's a national monument or a national park. So that's why we want to make very certain we won't have to contend with selling the property at any point. Secondly, it makes conservation the #1 priority for the land. Many of you may know that there's BLM land all around the country, and there's a lot of competing interests for what to do on that land. This would make conservation the #1 priority. We feel really strongly we need to make that happen. And third, if you're a national monument, there's a whole separate pot of money available that can be applied for in order to build the trails and hire the staff and make sure that the area is well maintained. We don't have access to that money right now, and that's why that land right now is locked up with a very large gate with 6 different locks on it, and only Steve Reed and a few other people have the key. So unless you go up there with him, you might get a $500 ticket for trespassing, so don't do it. So what we're hoping is that by making it a monument, it's a prestigious designation. We believe we'll have the funding available to open it to the public, to build trails, to have parking lots, to have interpretive signage, and just to enjoy the culture of the area as well. So how will the president choose? How is he going to pick this land over maybe others that are in contention right now? And possibly there's going to be maybe 20 different proposals to the president before he leaves office. So what my job is is to gain community support. So coming to you as a council and saying, would you please be supportive of this and write a letter in support that we can bring to President Obama in the fall. We're bringing our signatures. We've collected over 6,000 signatures. I'm sure we'll get thousands more by the fall. We have organizations and businesses that have signed on with their logos as well. So it's that easy. We present a beautiful package to the president. He's so blown away by it. He says, how can I not sign off on this? And that's all it takes. Just a signing of his name. He doesn't have to go through Congress. We really think it's a possibility, and we hope that we will get your support tonight to help us make that happen. So thank you so much for your time, and happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions of Laura? Okay. Steve, would you like to address this? Thank you.
I have
Steve.
no answer, but
Okay.
thanks for the opportunity.
Okay.
This is a region-wide asset. In fact, the property being turned over to the Bureau of Land Management now belongs to all of us and all the people of the United States, and we hope to see visitors from abroad as well. It's a very unique property in terms of diversity of resources. It's compact enough by BLM standards. I had given a presentation before the Bureau a month ago, and someone asked me how big the property was, and I said it was 5,800 acres, and they said, shoot, that's as big as my driveway. There are much larger BLM holdings. This is compact enough to be properly managed. It's a great stewardship opportunity between the federal government, who doesn't have any presence here in Santa Cruz County, state parks, county parks, city parks, and the local community. So it's a terrific stewardship opportunity. It's in close. We've got lots of people in the community from Watsonville to Santa Cruz, and half of Davenport, obviously, and about half of Bonnie Doon. That think this is a terrific idea. The property was acquired without any taxpayer funds being used. It was a gift to us, and we'd like to, sort of create the basis by which it's accessible to everyone.
Thank you, Steve. Capitola is physically connected to this property. We have a rail trail that goes all the way into it. So we're physically connected.
Right, and we have just also authored a letter in support of the rail trail for that further consideration.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks for showing up, Steve. Anyone else in the community would like to address this issue? Being none, we return to council.
I certainly support it.
Good. Here's that.
Give us a motion, Jacques.
Okay, I move that we support this particular petition and send the letter.
Second.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moves forward. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Scared Steve.
I've got you here if you want me to go.
Just oh, Steve, read. Okay, Steve, I think you're up on item 10E. That's receive report regarding 2014 summer beach shuttle.
So I just have a short report. Good evening, Council. I have a short report on our beach shuttle operation, which runs from Memorial Day weekend through the Art and Wine Festival every year. We're gearing up to start here on May 23rd. And so I thought I'd bring forward some data just to look at the past history of the shuttle, how we're operating. As you know, last year we operated out of the new lower parking lot for the first time. Previous about 6-7 years we'd operated out of the Crossroads Shopping Center up on Bay Avenue. So here's the data. You can see the total riders. These 2 years are about the same. It did drop last year as we went to the new lot. I think that's pretty easy to explain, that the new lot is certainly closer to the village, and the dependency on the shuttle isn't as great as it was. Talking with the shuttle bus operators, they say as they go through the lot, the shuttle stop that's closest to Capitola Avenue here very rarely gets people picked up. It's the other ones in the back of the lot that people are using. So if they're paying here, they're going straight and walking the village, and that's fine. The ridership is still pretty good, and I think we're meeting our goals. We've reduced the cost because we're no longer leasing the shuttle lot, which is costing us about $4,800 a year. And you can see the cost per rider went down from 2013, but still is in the 2012 letters. But the good news is our number stops per day has gone up about 25%. That means right now a person on a typical day is waiting about 6 minutes between a shuttle appearing at a stop, so that's pretty good. For 2015, we are recommending that we turn the route around from what we ran last year. As everybody was aware, last year we kind of ran in a clockwise way around the village. We used to stop up on Monterey Avenue, just at the bottom of the hill that was right next to some residential units. It really didn't have any waiting areas on it, and it was harder to find in the village. In the past, we had used a bus stop right here by the corner of Monterey and Capitola Avenue that has the plaza area with seating in there, and it worked well for a shuttle stop. Shuttle had no problems getting in and out, and it was much more visible. So we're recommending we turn it around again. We use that stop again. The couple of the shortfalls of this that we'll have to monitor is we will be making a left cross traffic into the new parking lot, the lower parking lot here. Talking with the shuttle drivers again, he said that because that is marked as a keep clear there, that the traffic usually will leave that driveway open. In fact, they've had trouble turning right out of there just because waiting for people. So turning left may actually improve their efficiency through there. And the other changes we'll have to make in the lower lot is right now the stops are all where the pay stations are at these 3 locations. We will now be stopping across the way, so people will be going to the pay stations on one side and they're going to have to walk across the street to get on the shuttle bus. I don't anticipate that being a big deal, but it's something we'll watch and monitor through the summer. I think the benefit of using the better bus stop in the village certainly outweighs any inefficiencies that we may be gaining here. So that's my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, and we are recommending that you approve reversing the route for this summer.
Thank you, Steve. Can you go back to that map, please, sir? If you park in the upper lot, where are you going to catch a shuttle?
Right now, you'd have to walk down to the lower lot.
So why wouldn't there not be a stop there at the corner of the lower lot where it comes out by the police department right there?
We've talked about moving this one up into this area, and we're looking for a good spot, and we actually will probably do that, so you would walk down that hill. And
that would pick up everybody in the upper lot then, other than them.
Right.
They wouldn't know to walk down to it. This way you're walking out of the lot.
Right, you'll see that.
Okay. And then on the other end, I know that there's really not a pickup space at the in the Depot Hill or at
up in here.
In here, if there was a space there, you could pick them up as they're coming out of the upper lot there, because people will walk out of that area quite a bit.
Yeah, well, if you're walking out in the lot here, I'm not sure you're going to want to get on a shuttle and then ride all the way around just to go down here. It's a pretty easy walk down the hill.
Okay. More the ride back being dropped off the top of the hill. I think that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, so you'd be dropped off at the top.
So we could look for a spot.
Yeah, otherwise you have to go down below and then come back up again.
Yeah, I'd be happy to look at a spot in that area.
Look at a spot there, and then look at something if we can find a place by
down here by the
Sullivan House down in there. That would be a great pickup because you would catch everybody walking down the hill from that.
You've got it.
Any questions of Steve?
One of the complaints was having a stop off next to residentials near the old Sullivan House. Do you consider that to be a problem?
Yeah, we'd probably make it definitely more toward the police building that's there. So we're not next to the Sullivans. And certainly we've tried to minimize our impacts on them.
See what works over there.
Yeah.
Ed, quick question. Where that hard left turn is it painted, keep clear now, or
yes,
not?
It is.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I got a request at some point, maybe in the future, to bring back the cute little trolley that we used to have. People said that they really liked it, and I said, I know it was a lot more expensive. This one is a lot better, but so maybe for next summer or summer. We have a couple-year contract with these folks.
Well, it's a year-to-year. It's good for up to 5 years, what we just approved, but it's from a year to year.
Well, sometime in the future, let's keep our options open and look at it, because people really like that. This is great, and I know it cost us a lot less. And that's why we went to it, but maybe in the future we can look at it.
The county or the city of Santa Cruz is using that from the county building to the boardwalk.
Yeah.
That same trolley.
Yeah.
Is there any members of the public who would like to address us on the trolley issue? Being none, we turn to council for
move approval.
Okay.
Second. I have a comment, though. Okay, go ahead. I just want to make a comment. I think this is a great idea to change direction, because I've had some conversation with Steve, I believe that turn at the top is almost an impossible turn, and I think it put us at risk because that bus goes into the oncoming traffic when it makes that turn lane. So this would take that problem away, so I think it's a good solution for that. And the 2 additional stops, I think, are great suggestions. So I think this could be a great idea. That's all.
Okay, we have motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so carried. Okay, we move to item 10F. Consider sending a letter of support in Senate Bill 16 pertaining to Senate Transportation Funding Proposal. Jamie or Steve?
I'm going to take this one too.
Okay, please.
Senate Bill 16 is a transportation funding bill that's proposed by Senator Beal out of San Jose. It provides 5 years of funding dedicated for street maintenance, overlays, and street reconstruction projects. Under the current bill as it's written, the city would receive approximately $200,000 per year dedicated for our streets. Current status of the bill is that it has passed through this Transportation and Housing Commission, and the Governance and Finance Commission is now being reviewed by the Appropriations Commission. The bill proposes to raise revenue through a 10-cent increase in the excise tax on gas and diesel, a $35 vehicle registration fee increase, a $100 vehicle registration fee for zero-emission vehicles, and payback of outstanding transportation loans, and then changes in the truck weight fees that are paid. This bill will also provide incentives for areas that pass self-help taxes, transportation funding taxes. If that goes through, and we did pass a local tax, which I think is scheduled to be on the 2016 initiative, we would actually receive additional benefits if this bill is in place when that passes. This bill is sponsored and are supported by the League of California Cities, and I also know that all the other local agencies have taken in. I wasn't able to find out if they actually support it. I believe they did. I know Santa Cruz and Watsonville had it on their agendas last week, and the city of Santa Cruz the week before that. And I believe the county of Santa Cruz has it scheduled for supporting it in the near future. So our recommendation is to have the mayor send a letter of support and send it.
Thank you, Steve. Questions? Steve, Capitola is 1.8 square miles. How much of Capitola is in airspace above us? I mean, does it go infinity? I mean, is this space above us actually within our jurisdiction?
Careful, Tony.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Well,
well said.
The FAA has been working on regulations that would, as an example, I suppose, that would clarify the rules governing the use of drones in different spaces, including in public spaces. And one of the questions that is still out there with regard to that is whether or not they will completely occupy the field in such a manner in which the city may be either able to or restricted in its ability to regulate drones within and how they're used within the city of Capitola. And that's something that I'm studying right now, so I wish I could offer some real good opinions on that. But those types of regulations are fairly uncommon throughout the United States at this point in time. There have been some cities that have adopted drone regulations, but I'm not aware of any in the state of California as of yet.
The U.S. has its airspace. You don't penetrate into that, so there's...
That's right.
Here's what I'm leaning to. Johnny, are you listening on this? That we're looking for transportation money. How about a flyover tax for planes that actually fly over our airspace?
We'll look into it.
Huh? Okay. Well, I'm looking at the list here where we're getting money. In the past, we really haven't encouraged anything that teaches people not to use low emission vehicles, and here we are. We're reversing that now, and I understand that because there's no gasoline tax on electric vehicles. Tesla passes by that, so there should be some kind of income for that. The $35 vehicle registration seems like a small thing for a lot of people, but it's not a small thing for a lot of people in this community. And raising that tax. One time they lowered it and they brought it back again. So recently they brought it back again. So I'm not, I don't think it's a bad way to go, but everything that's listed here is another tax. So, okay, thank you. Anyone in the Capitola audience would like to address this issue? Okay. So nobody else likes the flyover idea.
Move approval of the staff recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I love the flyover idea, just so you know. It's just collecting the tax is going to be difficult. I refer you to Sci-Fi Network, The Dome. The city has got it all covered.
Well, I timed them last night is that over my house, and they line up with the end of the Capitola Pier and the palm tree in my backyard. That's their flight pattern. And every 3.5 minutes, I have a jet come over my house. Every 3.5 minutes. So I'm taking this into the future. What happens as we start increasing and they're using the same path and all of a sudden it's down to 2 minutes, one minute? What happens when those things, when we don't have any control over that? Okay.
Electric airplanes.
You do? Oh, okay. Okay.
Never apply clothing optional tax. Yes.
Okay, we adjourn to the budget study sessions agenda on Wednesday, May 20th. 2015 at 6 o'clock right here at City Council Chambers. Thank you, Capitola. Speed limit in Capitola is 25 miles an hour. Please observe that. Thank you.